Make z the subject of the relations. Our given relation is s equals the fraction 9 divided by y minus the fraction 1 divided by z, right? So let's quickly solve it. So solution, right? So we have our given equation to be s equals the fraction 9 divided by y minus the fraction 1 divided by z, right? So here s is standing on its own, okay, which is on the left hand side of the equation, right? And at the right hand side of the equation we have subtraction of of fractions, right? So in subtracting fractions, right, we multiply the denominator on the right hand side of the equation, right, which is z, by the numerator on the left hand side of the equation, which is 9. Equally, we also multiply the denominator on the left hand side of the equation, which is y, and multiply it by the numerator on the left hand side, which is 1. Then when we are done, we multiply both denominators, right? So we are going to have our new equation to be 9 multiplying z minus 1 multiplying y divided by y multiplying z, right, as our new equation. And this s here has an invisible one here, okay? So we are going to simplify, right? So in simplifying, we are going to have our s equals the fraction 9 multiplying z will give us 9z minus 1 multiplying y will give us y, right? Because every number multiplying 1 is that same number, right? And we already have our denominator as y multiplying z, right? So our new equation is z equals the fraction 9z minus y divided by yz, right? So we simplify. Remember I said earlier on that this x has an invisible one, right? Because every number is divisible by 1, right? So in simplifying, we are going to have the fraction s divided by 1 equals the fraction 9x minus y divided by ys, right? So we cross multiply, right? So we are dealing with fractions at both sides or ends of the equation. So we have a fraction at the left hand side of the equation being separated by an equal to sign, right, with a fraction, right, at the right hand side of the equation. So when you have an equation like this, right, on both sides of the equation, you cross multiply, right? And in cross multiplying, you cross multiply the denominator on the left hand side, right, by the numerator on the right hand side. And also you also cross multiply the denominator on the right hand side by the numerator on the left hand side, right, without multiplying both denominators, right, which was in the case of subtracting fractions, right? So here we wouldn't multiply the denominators, but we will do cross multiplication, right? So in cross multiplying, s multiplying yx, right? So ys will cross multiply x, right? So we would be having s multiplying ys equals 1 multiplying, or in brackets 9z minus y, right? Or in bracket 9z minus y multiplying 1, right? So we've done the cross multiplication. So what we have to do next is to expand, right? So s multiplying ys will give us syz, right? So s multiplying yz, right, will give us syz. Okay. 1 multiplying 9z minus y will give us 9z minus y, right? Because every number multiplying 1 will give us that same number, right? So, based on the preamble of our question, we were tasked to make z the subject of the relations, right? So our focus here is z, right? So we have to group like terms from here. So the variables with common terms as, or like terms as z would be grouped at 1, and those without z would be grouped at the other end, right? So we have our new equation to be syz equals 9z minus y, right? So the like terms here are syz and 9z, right? But here we have a negative y here, which doesn't have a like term as z, right? So we make y the subject rather, right? So we move y, which is the negative y, to the other half of the equation, or the left hand side of the equation. Because it's a negative y, which is crossing an equal to sign, it will change its form, right? It will metamorphose into another state, right? So because it's a negative y, it will become a positive y. Supposing it was a positive y, it would have become a negative y. So we move this negative y across the equal to sign for it to change its form to become a positive y, right? So we are going to have y equals 9z, right? And in similar trajectory, right, we move syz from the other half of the equal to, from the other half of the equation, which is the left hand side of the equation, to the right hand side of the equation. And because syz is a positive variable, right, when it crosses the equal to sign, it will change its form to become a negative. So that's how come we have y equals 9z minus xyz, right? So from here, because we want to make z the subject of the relations, we factor out z, right? So we are going to have y equals z, right? And which number can multiply z for us to get 9z is 9. And which number can multiply z for us to get negative syz is negative sy, right? So in factoring out, we have y equals z, which is the factor, right? The factoring out, right? So z multiply, or in brackets 9 minus xy, right? Brackets close. So we are going to have our new equation to be s minus z multiplying, or in brackets 9 minus sy, right? So we simplify. So because we want to make z the subject of the relation, right, we have to make z an independent variable, right? Now z is dependent on the variable, or in bracket 9 minus sy, right? So in order to eliminate the variable, or in brackets 9 minus sy, we cancel out, okay, the entirety of the variable, the factor, right, which is z multiplying 9 minus sy, or in brackets. So we cancel it out by or in brackets 9 minus sy, right? So in doing our cancellation, what we do for the right hand side of the equation, you do same for the left hand side of the equation, right? So we are going to have our new equation to be the fraction y divided by, or in brackets 9 minus sy equals the fraction, right? S multiply, or in bracket 9 minus sy divided by, or in bracket 9 minus xy, right? So we do some cancellations, right? So we cancel out. So this 9, or in brackets 9 minus sy would cancel itself out as exhibited here, right? So it will cancel itself out as exhibited here, right? And when it does so, we are going to have our s, right, to be independent, to be independent, right? So we are going to have our s, our z, right, sorry, our z to be independent now because we've cancelled out the common factor, right, which is, or in brackets 9 minus sy. So our z is going to be z equals the fraction y divided by 9 minus sy as our final answer, right? So thank you so much for watching today's series. Kindly do what to subscribe for more. Thank you. Bye.